we're going to make a beautiful almond biscotti, and these almond biscotti remind me of Sicily and a beautiful town in Erice, which are famous for their almonds and almond biscuits. It's a really simple recipe and it doesn't take too many ingredients. So we're going to start by putting some almond meal in a bowl, or almond flour, about 250 grams. With that, the same amount of caster sugar, 250 grams. And we're also going to add the rind of 1 orange. You could do lemon rind or no rind at all if you don't like the flavour of rind. But I particularly like orange in this recipe. And has a nice citrusy flavour which reminds me of Sicily. We're just going to mix that together gently and make sure that the orange rind is well and truly mixed through and infused through the almonds. It will add another depth of flavour when you do that. Now what I have here is some egg whites, and in my recipe I say 2 to 3 egg whites depending on how big the eggs are. So I've got 3 here, and just looking at my recipe here, I think we're going to take the whole 3. I'm just going to grab a fork and I'm going to put the egg whites, lightly beaten, into the almond mixture. And I'm also going to add a dash of almond essence just to elevate the almond flavour. You don't have to do that, but you can get almond essence from your supermarket. Pretty easy to grab these days. So I'm now going to mix this together until it forms a lovely paste. And I start with a fork and then progress very quickly to my hands. And it's coming together really, really nicely. And I think at this point, I will now go in with my hands. Don't be too shy to do this. And it's feeling quite lovely, actually. Now that mixture is actually feeling a little bit moist for me, so I'm going to go and get a little bit more almond flour, so just give me one moment. So I'm back now and it is feeling quite sticky, so I'm just going to add a little bit more almond flour to it, not too much. Let's just see how we go. But this is the beauty of cooking, when you just really do need to feel the recipe from time to time to see how it's working for you. And I probably could have gotten away with 2 egg whites, or maybe 2.5, but this has done the trick. And I'm now happy with that dough. Doesn't need too much working. And it smells really nice. Right, I'm just going to wash my hands and I'll be back in a moment. So we're now going to prepare the almond biscotti and pop them on some trays. I have lined the trays with parchment paper and I've pre-prepared some toppings. So I've got some raw almonds here, so not the pre-baked almonds because they will bake in the oven. And I've also got some gorgeous amarena cherries, which are the beautiful sour cherries in syrup. The Fabri brand is my favourite. However, you can get other types of brands. It's a little bit tricky to find at times, and if you can't find them, it's okay. You can just use your normal cherries, your green cherries and red cherries from the supermarket. They're fine too, or just stick with the almonds. So what we're going to do is just grab a little bit of the almond paste. Depending on the size of the biscotti, You can do whatever size you like. I like about a tablespoon. You could also pop it in a piping bag, and in here I've got about a cup of icing sugar. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to cover the almond paste with icing sugar. We're going to pop it on the tray, and we're just going to press down a little bit and then add the topping that you want. So for this one, I'm just going to add a beautiful almond, and you just keep going with the recipe until all the dough is done. They will expand a little bit, but they don't need too much space on the tray. A little bit of space is always nice. So with the cherry, it's always nice to put a little bit of the syrup drizzling down the side, not too much, just a little bit. And they're quite pretty as well. This is quite a fun activity to do with younger family members because it's quite simple to do. So there is a great book that reminds me of these biscuits called Bitter Almonds, and if you Google Bitter Almonds, it'll come up with a gorgeous book that talks about a little town in Sicily called Erice, E-R-I-C-E, and it has the famous pastry shop there from Maria Grammatico. And I remember making the trip to Sicily to actually go and visit that pastry shop, and it did not disappoint. It was absolutely worth visiting Erice. It's a medieval hilltop town in Sicily, and the famous cake shop is there with all the Sicilian traditional cakes, including Almond Biscotti, which you can enjoy. And it was one of my fondest memories visiting that place. So these biscotti go into a preheated 180 degree fan forced oven, and they cook for about 12 to 15 minutes, so keep an eye on them. And when you take them out of the oven, they will set a little bit. So I do hope you enjoy these beautiful Sicilian almond biscotti.